On tonight's Cover One Buffalo podcast, we are joined by Trevor Sikkema to talk about Bills Buccaneers. But first, our guys, Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL. Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how we doing?
Just like you, better than I was 70 something hours ago. This week has stunk. The weather actually, it was nice. A little bit of that early snow, but it stunk since the pretty early snow. And that has matched sort of how I felt when the Bills stink and the weather stink. It's not good. So November, not off to a great start here. We're mid-November, not loving that, but I'm excited. I'm at to the point you put out that tweet earlier where like kind of mocking the signings and getting back excited. But you know what? And watching this game, watching this Bucs team, a little nervous, but excited to see the Bills answer this challenge this week.
Yeah, we'll talk later on. We're going to be joined by our friend Trevor Sikkema here in a moment. Afterwards, we'll talk about some of the new additions, some of the maybe some guys returning from injury or being activated, some of the different pieces of where those things may fit in. But I definitely, I'm at guarded optimism. There's still a piece of me that knows this team is flawed and that, we'll see where things end up going. But pre-show, you were talking, that no team in the NFL is great right now. Every team has flaws and looks like there are issues, and we're one of those. So if that's what it takes, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, we are ready to be able to jump in, bring up our friend, lead draft analyst for PFF, co-host of the NFL Stock Exchange show, and the second best hair on his show. Like, do you guys get into like, is it like an open battle of who has the best hair on the show?
It's not a battle. It's got to be Connor. I'm giving this one to Connor. I'm gonna be a humble co-host. I'm gonna say that it's him. But it's funny. We were recording our show earlier today, and Sam Monson, also a friend of my show, who I used to work with for many years over at PFF. Obviously, he's rocking more of a clean cut look.
I was gonna say Sam's got something more like
he's a little more like that, and he was saying, hey, love the podcast, guys. Hate the hair, I really do. And so, we'll take it. If people tune in for the hair and they stay for the analysis, I'm okay. If they tune in for the analysis but then stay for the hair, I guess I'm okay with that.
Here in Buffalo, there's a weird dynamic where a lot of these shows have one bald guy and one guy with hair. Like there's ours.
There's a lot of those.
Shout has one bald guy and a guy with hair. Eric and Sal Capaccio, Sal's bald. So like everybody's got. So we got a little bit of a mix there. The hair does pull them in. You're right, it does pull them in. But then we got to keep them once they're here, Trevor.
It's true. It's very true. Which you guys are very good at doing that. Yeah. So that's why your audience is what it is.
Appreciate you, man.
So help us out here. We were talking pre-show. The Buccaneers are a fun team. I think a lot of people have really enjoyed watching them, have enjoyed, Baker is such an easy guy to root for. I've talked, forever that leading up to that week of the draft, all the rumors were the Browns were going to take Josh Allen. I wanted the Bills to move up for Baker Mayfield. I just loved the energy. I think he would have clicked with Bills Mafia. I think we would have adored him. And in a private moment with the teams that McDermott have been a Bill over the last couple of years, I think he would have signed a huge extension here and, maybe not been Josh's ceiling, but been pretty darn good. And instead, we've seen his super weird path, but I'm super happy to see him finally find a landing spot where he could be himself. Where are the fans at with this team? 6-3, looking pretty good, feeling decent in the division. Where are fans' heads at? Some injury, things here or there with some of the assumed weapons, but where are the fans at overall?
It is one of those instances, and I'll say like one of those years where they believe, and rightfully so, that like the Bucs can beat any team, and it's not, that's not to say I think they're the best team in the NFL, but they're hovering around, like being a top 8, top 10 team in the NFL, where any given week you feel like you could beat anybody. I mean, look at this game that they just played against the New England Patriots. The Patriots win this game, yeah, but Patriots basically had 4 big plays the entire day. And if you even take away half of those big plays, because kudos to the Patriots and what they did on the offensive side. It was a little bit of like, just, miss this guy here and there, and it turned into, a 70-yard play, a 60-yard play, whatever. You cut those in half, Tampa probably wins that game. And that's one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They got one of the best records in the NFL. Drake May's playing unbelievably well for the most part. They shut him down. Baker's kind of, after having a really big start, he's cooled off a little bit. I think he was better this past week, but still, he's leaving a lot of meat on the bone. It feels
Mike Evans' injury.
Yeah, I mean, the Evans injury doesn't help.
Sure.
Goodness gracious, like when they drafted Emeka Egbuka in the first round, I was doing the PFF NFL draft show, so I was live, and I was sad that we didn't get this on camera, but we were in commercial, and it came through that they drafted Emeka Egbuka. My jaw hit the floor. Like, I could not believe that was what they did, and now you look at their season right now. Where is this team without Emeka Egbuka?
Oh my God!
Thank God.
Right, and it's like that is because on draft night you go, well, hold on, you got Mike, you got Chris, he's coming back, like all this kinds of stuff, and obviously those guys haven't played due to injury. Yes, not having Mike Evans definitely hurts, but I will say just overall, I mean, Tez Johnson, really underrated 7th-round wide receiver for them. A guy who knows how to get open, consistently got open when he was at Oregon. Shoot, Cam Johnson, who felt like he came out of nowhere because he kind of did. He's playing some meaningful snaps for him. He's playing decently well. Sterling Shepard has that connection with Baker Mayfield.
Not even last year's fun rookie with Jalen McMillan.
Right, and Jalen McMillan obviously is not there either, still recovering from that neck injury. And so Baker's definitely making do, but I will say the difference between him right now versus the beginning of the season is his turnover-worthy plays are still pretty consistent. It's really kind of around like he'll have 2 turnover-worthy plays pretty much every single game, and you got to live with it. The big difference is at the beginning of the year, the first 4 or 5 weeks, he had 2, 3 big-time throws to go along with it. And so there was the good with the bad. And over the last couple of weeks, it's kind of been more like, all right, 2 turnover-worthy plays, maybe 1 big-time throw, maybe 2. And so it's just been those big-time throws are a little bit lower with, the lack of having Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out there. And so it's a capable offense. It's a fun team to watch. They feel like they've got a chance every single week because of what Baker can do on offense, and then, of course, what Todd Bowles can do as a defensive coordinator and put some of these opposing quarterbacks in hell. But it's been a fun team to root for. It really is.
Well, I love some of the things you said in here because it leads to something I wanted to really let you speak on more than ask you about. But it's, right now here in Buffalo, we're having conversations about, is our leadership the right leadership to get this over that hump, right? And that conversation is getting really hot and heavy over here. But I look at this team, when I was watching this team, I'm also thinking like, this is one of those organizations now in Tampa that is up there when you think of teams like the Steelers and the Packers, who are just kind of always there in this post-Brady build. You go out and you get the Super Bowl and able to turn this thing around. The GM, the head coach, like, it's a well-run organization out there, and just hats off to, we do a lot of these shows and I watch a lot of these teams, and I think it goes under the radar actually how good of a well-run organization Tampa Bay has been here over the last decade or so. So if you want to speak on what that has been like in covering this team, because I don't know if we're taking it for granted right now a little bit, but we're ready to move on from ours, I think.
Yeah, and it's always tough, right? Like I was somebody who over the last 3 or 4 years, like I've picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl a couple of times, right? Because like they're in that conversation, and obviously it's very frustrating, and that frustration only compounds when you're in a winning window with an elite quarterback and what feels like one of the most talented ones to ever play the game, and you don't have the hardware that you want to show for it. Like that's understandably frustrating. And so I can get where fans are coming from in that regard. In terms of the Bucs, man, I grew up just south of Tampa, so I've been a Bucs fan my whole life. Tampa has always been an under the radar sort of like small market team, if you will. Not a lot of people pay attention to what's going on in Tampa Bay. To be honest with you, that 2002 Super Bowl team, that Hall of Fame littered defense, like I'd have been okay if that was the only one I got. Like it was like it was just like, hey, we don't win a lot of championships in Tampa. We kind of have that defense that we were known for, and I think the success that they have had recently, is it's very much new. I think it's very much new to just the organization overall, because really up until probably 3-4 years ago, I haven't checked recently, but there was a time when the Buccaneers had the lowest win percentage of any franchise in the 4 major sports in North America.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, this is a team that I think they started, what was it? Like 22, like 0-22 or something crazy, like in the first couple of years. Like, it took them a year and a half to even win one single game when the franchise started. And so winning has not been synonymous with Tampa Bay for a long time. But to sort of your question and this topic here, my hat is off to Jason Licht, the general manager, and what he has done as a team builder. He came up through the scouting side of things. He's a scout at heart. And, he took over the job in 2014, and Mike Evans was his first draft pick that he made, and it was a pretty damn good one. I'll give him that. But then the next couple of years, when it came to draft picks and free agents, it was very hit and miss for him. And to be honest with you, I think Jason Licht got the longer leash that he did when he started as a GM because there's not a lot of pressure in Tampa. There's just really not. Obviously, like, they want to win, and so when things aren't going well, they make the changes. But Jason was able to have those 3, 4, 5 years where he really learned from not just his successes, but his failures, and he was still then allowed to be the general manager. You now get to the point where, really, since the Bruce Arians years, of course, the Tom Brady year, everything like that, you look at these last 4 or 5 draft classes. I mean, it's probably the best 5-year run of a general manager in the NFL. And it's because he was given the time to fail, learn from it, and now it just feels like, I mean, again, the Emeka Egbuka pick, who does that? You just signed Mike Evans. You just re-signed Chris Godwin. Who does that? Well, the Bucs do, because they truly say, hey, we now have a healthy roster everywhere. We truly have best player available flexibility, especially when it comes to their first-round picks, and they just don't waste those premium draft assets. That's how you get to the point where you have one of the healthiest rosters in the NFL, and it's such great kudos to Jason Licht and just what he's been able to do there. And, two, I just want to say this real quick. I want to give Todd Bowles some credit, too.
Yeah.
Because
great coach.
I was not a Todd Bowles believer as a head coach. I really wasn't. When Bruce Arians stepped away and he said, okay, I'm retiring, Todd gets the head coach headset. I was like, dude, come on. We're just going to we're going to give it to him.
Retread. Feels like a retread thing.
Right. It's a retread. We're not going to interview anybody else, nothing like that. And I think the first handful of years that he was a head coach, it was a lot like when he was with the New York Jets. It was a lot of stubborn stuff. Punting on 4th and short when you should be going for it, not managing your timeouts correctly, not being aggressive when you needed to, not being progressive with where the game was going when it came to the run and the pass, balance that really is represented in the modern game. And over the last couple of years, I want to give him his credit. He has evolved. He has evolved as a head coach to where now you kind of watch him and you go, okay, you get it. You get where the game is going, and you get what you need to do to win football games. So Jason Licht and Todd Bowles have done an excellent job building a very healthy organization and a healthy roster.
So let's start on the defensive side of the ball here, facing this Josh Allen-led Bills offense, which obviously right now is asking a lot of kind of self-reflection questions, what they want to be, what they think they're going to be. A team that's leaned into the run game most of the year, it's usually not a great game plan going against this Tampa Bay defense. With that front, obviously, Vita Vea might be one of my favorite non-Bills in the entire NFL. Like, his seeing the 50 and the creamsicle, I think is like the peak NFL aesthetic is just right. With the rest of that defensive line, when Hassan Reddick is healthy, I think you have kind of a finisher. Maybe Yaya Diaby's kind of getting to that point. Is there the pass rush they need with that front to match the elite, maybe best run defense in the NFL?
Yeah, I think the answer is no, right? And when you look at the pass rush that they have, Hassan Reddick's out right now due to injury, and without him, they just don't really have a one-on-one winner. Kalijah Kancey out as well. He's dealt with a lot of injury over the last couple of years, which has been a bummer. But those are kind of their best 2 pass rushers. And when you look at Yaya Diaby, he's a heavy-handed, bigger 5 technique type of a player. They'll play him as a stand-up outside linebacker, sure, but he's better just in his strength and his speed to power and those kinds of things. He's just not really a one-on-one winner like you want him to be. I think that the pass rush really has been more of like Todd Bowles' identity of, hey, we're just going to be aggressive. And really, specifically against New England, I watched them do this a ton, where they were doing a lot of simulated pressure stuff, a lot of safeties, a lot of the nickel corner, the linebackers, you're in mugged looks, you're all over the line of scrimmage, you don't know where the pressure's coming from. And I think they're realizing, and they know, that they have to sort of manufacture that pressure in other ways other than, looking at a primetime ball winner and saying, hey, go get after the quarterback, and they know that they're going to be able to get in the backfield. Run defense is more of the strength of this team, and I think when it comes to pass rush, it is much more just a sum of their parts type of a thing, and it's more about the game plan than it is the individual talent with those rushers.
I think I saw in the Pats game, I think there were 12 pass rush snaps from traditional defensive linemen, or there where you're sending, you send Winfield here, you send Tyke Smith there, send the linebackers here, there, just show them, hey, there's 6 guys mugged up here, 4 are coming, but you're not sure which 4.
Right.
Now the reason that works so well is this back 7 can cover everything. Like, they're all over the place. And I think obviously I don't know that I expected to see Levante David still playing at this level at this age. Like I there was a moment there where it sounded like maybe somebody could sneak him out of Tampa. This was 2 years ago, I think, where like the contract was up and there was some talk that maybe he wasn't going to get the offer there. And he was the guy that we were all raising our hands, but yes, absolutely, we'll take him. Come bring him in here. But I know between that, Savoksh Devin Dennis, like I don't think I had him on my radar at all to be playing at this level, and to have David still holding on and Dennis now, playing at this level, it gives him so much flexibility to do those things. Where's that? You guys have had some pretty high level linebacker play over the years. Where's this duo kind of shaping up for what you guys normally see?
I think the ceiling with these two is what gets you excited. Now, unfortunately, the floor has been lower than what we've wanted, especially the beginning of the season. I think that they've recalibrated here in the middle of the year, and they're playing a lot more consistent. They are definitely playing better. But Dennis, missed almost all of last year due to injury. And so this year he was really trying to hit the ground running as that starting linebacker next to Levante David. And for like David, he just wins with having such a high football IQ, and he can often like stay a step ahead, even though athletically maybe he's a step behind of what he used to be. So he is still an impactful player. I mean, this past week against New England, he was excellent in run defense once again, like he always has the potential to be. Dennis has been a little bit more up and down, but specifically I think it's been in coverage. And they tried to put him one-on-one on a lot of guys out of the backfield at the beginning of the season. Bijan Robinson was their first test. They faced the Atlanta Falcons, and I think he gave up like 120 yards on his own just because Bijan was absolutely cooking him out of the backfield. And that was when we started to get nervous. We started to be like, okay, this might be a weak point of the team. And I still think it is a little bit, but to your point, they're playing better as a duo now. We're a couple of weeks into the season. The chemistry is a lot better between those two, and so they do have the confidence to just stick those two guys out there and play a lot of nickel, which they like to do because, of course, they like the corners that they have. They like Jacob Parrish. They like Tyke Smith coming down and playing nickel. They like Antoine Winfield Jr. coming down and playing nickel. Jamel Dean's on the outside. Now Benjamin Morrison is getting into the mix as well. So they like to be versatile. They like a lot of the defensive backs that they have there, but specifically they like it when they have that speed and those guys that they can rely on to be good tacklers from that slot spot. You only get to do that if you have the linebackers that you feel good about. And though Dennis hasn't been perfect, there have been moments where the chemistry is really nice between those guys, and I think that this past game was a good indicator of that, so that at least they're on a roll lately.
So you led perfectly into my next question, which was in the secondary. Obviously, Aaron and I both love Antoine Winfield Jr., just a phenomenal player. I think has moments as the best safety in the NFL. I think that there's a lot of Bills fans, this year it's been a little bit slower, but to this point, the first 4 years, Christian Benford had been playing at such a elite level, but never get talked about that way. Jamel Dean's the same way. Like, he doesn't get talked about with, like he needs like a big sauce chain or something like that. Apparently you need to get talked about as a top cornerback, but he plays like one. Like he's the only piece that I know for sure what position he plays, because all the rest of the guys, depending on which game, which snap, which moment, you see them all over the place, used in different spots, inside, outside, safety, nickel, who's in the overhang, who's back, and who can drop, into the post. Like, how are they using all these other pieces where I think Winfield and Dean are kind of like the tent pole pieces, and then you're able to use pretty much everybody else in these, interchangeable, flexible ways.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention Zion McCollum as well, who is just the size athleticism combination is just traits for days for him. I think the big X factor of the secondary is Tyke Smith. I really believe that. I was nervous when they were moving him from the slot more to that traditional strong safety role, more on the back end next to Antoine Winfield Jr., because he played in the slot last year and he played it incredibly well. What I love about him is he's just such a fierce and fiery run defender. And I'm just, you've got to have that in the slot. I think a lot of people look at the slot, and not as much anymore because years have passed, and I think everybody's sort of, again, recalibrated the way that they look at the slot. But it used to just be your third best corner, right? Or your corner that was smaller than the other guys
whoever
on the
your
outside.
Smallest one, you should put your kid in there.
Stick in the slot, and you can't do that anymore. Not in today's game. You have to have a nickel defender who can defend the run. You have to. You're closer to the ball. You're closer to the line of scrimmage. And Tyke Smith was so good at that last year. I was nervous about them moving him from that slot spot. Well, now they've got Jacob Parrish, who has been a phenomenal rookie for them in that regard. Again, has hit the ground running, plays with a ton of confidence, but it has allowed them to really move Tyke Smith to a lot of different spots. I mean, when Smith was at West Virginia before he was at Georgia, he played a lot of free safety. And then when he was Georgia, he was much more of a slot and nickel defender and a strong safety type. And so he's got the background to be able to play basically any role that you want as that versatile defender. It frees up Antoine Winfield Jr., it frees up Jacob Parrish, it frees up the guys on the outside to do what they need to do. So I really do believe that where Winfield should get all the praise because he's one of the best defensive players in the NFL, and Parrish should get the praise for how well he's playing as a rookie. To me, Tyke Smith is just such a gem in this defense. He embodies everything that Todd Bowles is all about from that position, and to me, he's the big X factor on that side of the ball.
Before we get on to the other side of the ball, I want to thank you for doing my job of petitioning the people that nickel is maybe one of the most important positions in the NFL these days, and
100%
changed the game entirely. And I think we're in the middle of offenses trying to figure out how to attack that. And that's some of the Bills' problems. Anyways, let's flip it to the offensive side of the ball. First question I want to get into is, are we going to see Bucky Irving this week, or are they going to wait on that?
So he practiced. Obviously, we're doing this show on Wednesday evening. He practiced in what they said was a limited capacity, but if I read the quote correctly, Baker Mayfield was having to slow him down this week. Like, Baker Mayfield was having to be like, all right, man, like we love that you're back. Like, save some of the energy and the aggressiveness and the physicality. We want to make sure that you can make it to Sunday because we're going to need you. So it sure seems like he's going to be out there for them, which is really key because this team, if you take away the runs from the quarterback position from Baker Mayfield, when you look at early down stuff, they have one of the least amount of missed tackles forced in the NFL, at least from when I checked a week ago. So this is a team.
White's a nice complementary. He's an adequate complementary
100%.
back, right?
Yes, and he's got really nice vision, but he's not this explosive, dynamic type of a back. He's not going to bounce off a ton of tackles for you. He's not going to make a bunch of guys miss in a phone booth, if you will. So Rachaad White is a great RB2 to have, but he's just not as dynamic as Bucky Irving is. And so there is a major difference. You can feel it when Bucky Irving's in that backfield.
Do you think so? Like, for the Bills right now, as a fan and somebody that covers this team, if anybody's close, I want them in this game. This is a big one for Buffalo. We got to start getting a winning streak going. Where are you guys at? Where with a Bucky Irving type guy, like, you want him for January football when you look at this roster and what they're doing? Do you want to rush him back for this Bills game? Are you guys kind of in that position too, where you want to start getting some wins stacked together? We're in the real part of football season now,
right? I really hadn't thought of it through that lens. I mean, this is a big game, and this is the kind of game that propels your confidence, to be honest with you. I mean, if the Bills are going to end up beating the Buccaneers, that's going to be a big confidence booster for them, just like it was when they beat the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. It gets them right back in their groove, and their confidence is there again. And it's the same thing with Tampa Bay, to be honest with you. They hold a lot of their destiny in their hand with the division games that they've already played and the division games that are coming up. So, hey, an AFC opponent, is it really that big of a deal when it comes to, seeding in the NFC? Sure. Maybe not too much, but I think that they want Bucky Irving out there because this is a team that was red hot to start the season, and they've cooled down a little bit. And I think you could just feel that this team wants to heat up again. Like they want to remind everybody out there, and they want to remind themselves that they can beat anybody in the NFL. And for as much as I know Buffalo fans have been frustrated with maybe some of the overall lack of success that they have had, they are still the Buffalo Bills, and this is still one of the premier teams in the NFL over the last half decade. And so you get a win over this team, you get a win over Josh Allen, you feel pretty good about it. So I don't know if it's like a must-win feel for them, but they definitely want to get their mojo and their confidence revving on all cylinders like it was at the beginning of the year.
I would think no team wants to lose 2 in a row. Right.
Sure,
like you're in this type of position. You don't want to lose 2 in a row. But in talking about this offense, obviously you mentioned him earlier, Emeka Egbuka, as somebody that's watching a defense. Well, I'm excited to see Max Harrison go up with Emeka Egbuka. I wouldn't even mind if maybe the Bills decided to follow a little bit in terms of, I don't think when I watch him, my first thought is oh God, I don't want this old version of Trey White doing things with Emeka Egbuka out in open field. Like that's an explosive play waiting to happen. This guy is just, he pops all over the film as just a absolutely explosive play waiting to happen. He's everything I think Bills fans are looking for a receiver to be. How did the rest of the NFL let him get to you guys there at 19?
I think it was really just a case of, I don't know if overthinking it's maybe the right word. I think you get.
He's in Ohio State, really good. Ohio State,
but I think you get bored of him too because remember, like he was the wide receiver 2 with Marv, 2 years ago, and 3 years ago now at this point, and he was he's always played second fiddle, right?
Yes.
He was second fiddle to Marvin Harrison Jr. when he was still there, and everybody talked about, oh my God, Harrison Jr. is going to be the best wide receiver in the NFL. This is going to be unbelievable. And Emeka Egbuka very quietly was a monster next to him during that season.
But Terry was like a wide receiver too. Like Terry McLaurin too. Like,
right? No,
just take these guys.
It's very true. And then the next year, when it was the first year of Jeremiah Smith, the Jeremiah Smith hype train began. But if you remember, Emeka got hurt. Wait, what was? Maybe I'm mixing up my years. But there was where he missed a bunch of time, and he was not the same player. So actually, maybe no, this would have had to been the year before. So.
They've had so much overlap between Wilson, Olave, Harrison Jr.
Just take them. Just take whatever guys on that roster.
It just needs to be, hey, if Brian Hartline says he's good, just trust him.
So if I'm actually, if I'm remembering this correctly, it was the year that both him and Marvin Harrison Jr. were sophomores, and they couldn't declare yet that he and Harrison Jr. were going off, and they were unbelievable. And then it was that following year that Harrison was the wide receiver 1, like the guy. And Emeka Egbuka had some hype preseason, but then he got hurt. So then it was that following year with Jeremiah Smith. It's like, okay, Emeka Egbuka was coming back from that injury, but Jeremiah Smith was making national headlines, and then that's all people cared about, really. And this dude just went under the radar because he was super solid. He didn't run the fastest 40. He didn't jump the highest. He didn't jump the furthest. He didn't have the greatest stats in the world throughout his career.
Yeah, but you turned it on, and he just produced.
He just ended up being an NFLer through and through, I think, even when you go back to his sophomore season.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I see as like a potential, I love the way this offense is designed. I think the offensive line is starting to actually get a little bit healthier here this last week. I think that's going to be a big help for you guys, especially in that run game. And as you get Bucky Irving back, I think all those stats will look a little bit better. The only thing that I was concerned on is like, hey man, as a Bills fan, if I'm watching this, if I can keep a lid on Egbuka, like let him get some yardage, but don't let him break the big explosive plays, get into the end zone. And I dare the other guys to beat me. Like, as a Bucs fan, knowing Mike Evans is gone, is Cade Otton enough? Is Sterling Shepard enough of a weapon where if a team can bracket coverage and take that gravity out of the game, can these other guys win their one-on-ones and be enough to go out and win a game? Because when this offense gets stuck, it seems like they're trying to force it to Ibuka and it's not there.
Right. So who are going to be the starting corners for the Bills in this game? Because I know you guys have had some guys like in and out of the lineup with injuries. And
I think it's Trey and Max as far as I'm.
Christian Bedford was limited today.
Okay.
He's still coming back from a pretty nasty groin injury, so I think we're guessing that they are conservative with that
over there. But Max is in.
Yes, right.
So
he could cover Ibuka. The worry that I would have is honestly, guys, like Tez Johnson's been good. Yeah. And I know Tez Johnson's, whatever, like 5'10", $155. Like he weighs as much as
those guys give the Bills
I do.
Super hard time.
But that's the thing is that when you go back and you watch the games, when you see that Baker Mayfield leaves some meat on the bone, it's a lot of times throwing to Tez. Like Tez is open. He's just so unreal at creating that separation and creating those throwing windows because of his start and stop ability and how well he can cut on a dime that like I would have faith in Maxwell Harrison covering him because Maxwell is also a very twitchy and springy athlete. But Trey White at this point in his career, that might be a mismatch to exploit. And so, yeah, I think that you're probably going into this game thinking we have to limit Ibuka and we're going to make somebody else beat us. But they do have the ability for somebody else to beat him. And where Cade Otton isn't the flashiest tight end in the world, they like him, and he's a grinder, and he can make some really physical, tough catches. He can take some tough hits, and so he's going to be a part of this game plan as well.
So, ultimately, give us a prediction. What do you expect to see? What kind of game do you expect to see here? And give us a score prediction for what we're going to see here this weekend.
I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I really do. I think this is going to be fun. I think that the fireworks are going to be out. I think that both teams are I could see both teams scoring high 20s, low 30s, something like that. I really do think that, especially if Bucky Irving comes back and he's out there, the Bucs offense is really going to be firing on all cylinders. And so I think, what's the line in this game? Do you guys know?
Yeah, it's changed a little bit. I see it at 5.5. That's too much.
Is it 5.5?
5.5 is too much.
I think it's going to be way closer than that. I think on the PFF NFL show, I picked Tampa to win with a coward's prediction of 28-27. So 1 point. So like I took the coward's way out there on the PFF NFL show. I think Dalton, my co-host, I think he took the Bills and said, "Hey, Bills at home. If it was at Tampa, maybe it's a little bit different." But I think this one's gonna be I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think it's gonna be one of the most fun games of the week.
I think that's the key. We want a fun game, a healthy game. Both teams need a healthy
week. That would be nice.
Don't lose anybody else. It'd be great if we could just have that.
Yeah.
All right. Let the folks know what's coming up next on your various shows. Lots of places that we can find your work. Let the folks know what to find next.
Sure. Yeah. Covering all the games, recap, previews, everything over on the PFF YouTube channel. So go check us out there. And then the NFL Stock Exchange YouTube channel, myself and Connor Rogers, we're covering the NFL and the NFL Draft 365, doing all of the player rankings, the mock drafts, the team-specific big boards and team-specific mocks, all of that good stuff. So Bills fans, we got you. We promise that we'll have some curated content for you guys there.
Are we fixing wide receiver next draft?
I don't know if we're doing a full fix your franchise episode for the Bills.
Do whatever it takes. Get me Carnell Tate. Just do whatever it takes. Get me Carnell Tate.
Tell me the draft capital required.
Just tell me what it takes. Give me Carnell Tate.
It's going to be top 20. It's going to be top 20. He's too good. He's too good.
I'm so annoyed because like in the beginning of the season, between him and the big crazy, who's the pterodactyl that they have, the like linebacker edge.
Arvell Reese.
Yeah,
are you talking about?
So
yes.
Between Arvell Reese and Carnell Tate at the beginning of the season, I was like, "Hey, we just need one of them to make it there to the end of the first round." And then I keep watching the games. I'm like, "We're not going to get either of these guys."
Dude, Arvell might go 1 overall now.
He's like crazy. It's crazy.
He is nuts. He is so talented. Sonny Styles, their linebacker, is unbelievably talented. They have another absolute brick wall in the middle in Caden McDonald at defensive tackle. Again, feels like it's just like a Tyleek Williams clone, another at back end of the first round dude who's going to be fantastic for them. And then obviously, like, dude, that's not even mentioning Caleb Downs, who's probably a top 3 player in the class. And when he comes to the NFL, like, I genuinely believe he could be a Antoine Winfield Jr., like a Kyle Hamilton, like type of true defensive chess piece. He is that smart. He's
when
unbelievable.
Downs and Smith come out, you legitimately like they're just gonna make a run for 1-2.
Yeah.
Those two, like when Downs and Smith are both there, like
no, Downs eligible this year.
Oh,
he
is eligible
class.
this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But to your point, Jeremiah Smith next year. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But shoot, Caleb Downs could be a top 3 player in this class. And then next year at Ohio State, it's going to be Jeremiah Smith. Their quarterback might even be a top 3 pick. Julian Sand. Good football program. I don't know what to tell you.
It's not bad.
Ohio State, not bad.
Not bad.
Aaron
hates it.
I hate it.
I do like appreciate you, man. Always appreciate your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Connor, we
appreciate it, guys. We will. I will. See you guys.
Thanks, man. Oh, all right. So I'll start for this week for score predictions. Obviously, Trevor's awesome. Make sure you guys check out him and Connor's work. One of my favorite draft resources to watch getting ready for the draft. That's what I binge when I get myself ready because I need to learn what the hell's going on when it comes to draft time. I watch Trevor and Connor. I was in a really dark place after that game, and I'm still scarred. Like there's still bits of me that it doesn't really matter what happens this week or next week or the next handful of weeks. There's some tough games like between Tampa and Houston and Pittsburgh, and those are like legit tests that we need to know what's going on. If we rip off all 3 and we go 3-0, I don't know that I'm actually going to feel like, oh, good, it's all better. We're going to not, show our flaws when the playoffs come. But all of that said, I'm not all the way back on board that, 2-2, we're going to Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The best team in the NFL is when nobody believes in the Bills. Like their moments are when they're genuinely doubted and people are out on them. And it's when people genuinely moved on. And like, I couldn't be a better barometer for that of when someone like me, who is as optimistic and hopeful as anybody can be, when they lost me for that window of time, there's so much, media coverage and doubt and whatever you want to find. McDermott and all those guys are going to find a ton of it, and they're all going to see it. And smart people, questioning Josh Allen. Like, hey, why won't you just take a profit? Why won't you just take the stuff that's there?
Thanks for calling me smart, by the way.
No. They're gonna play pissed off and they're gonna win. They're gonna I don't know that it means everything we're gonna want it to mean. I don't know that it's gonna be, the actual solution. But I think they're going to play great. And I just think that they're so predictable of when everybody's out. It's when they rally together and play really well. And I think it's going to be like 31-27 Buffalo. I think Trevor's right. I think there's a fair amount of points here. Neither team can run. Like, you can't run on Tampa. So I don't think we're going to try as much. I think we're going to try to throw the ball here. Or run to the outside, maybe, but God, please don't try to ram into Vita Vea. I got 31 Bills, 27 Buccaneers.
I've been flip-flopping on it all day.
Tampa Bay absolutely can win this game.
Yeah, what absolutely. I think about this game. And I think I'm going to go with my initial instinct. And it's actually not what I've written down on my notes right now. Right now, I've on my notes, Bucs win, but I'm going to flip it to Bills win. And it is close. I do think it is a coin flip game. Like, you play this game up 10 times.
5.5 is stupid. Yeah. And any Bills fan out there, I beg you, do not bet the Bills to cover this spread.
Stay away from
5.5 is too many points.
Stay away from it. I like this Tampa Bay team a lot. I think they provide a lot of concerns for the Bills. I think this is a big test for a Bills team that, even if they're playing pissed off, might need a little bit something extra, something to fall their way to win this one. But the style at which they win this one, so I got a 20-24. I think maybe Bills trailing late, and it's a Josh Allen game-winning touchdown drive to win this one. And you see a little bit of the Josh Allen screaming on the sidelines that everybody wants.
That kind of moment that if they're down 17-20 and they have a chance, like, oh, are they going to kick the field goal to tie it or score a touchdown to win, and they get one of those, that would be big.
On like maybe an explosive 20-yard pass play or something, I probably won't get a lot of those against this Bucs defense, but
maybe to someone who wears number 13,
something like that. Honestly, though, like I wanted to say it to Trevor, but I didn't want to keep him too long when he was talking about like the score of this game and what type of game. Like I think back, the reason I was going to pick against the Bills on this one, Greg, was I don't know. I think they could lose this game and still go on a run. Like we've seen them go on runs, and it would be sort of fitting that Tampa was that one in, what was it, 2021?
It was.
But they lost the overtime game in a loss. That was finally the
7-6, I think.
Yes. And that felt going into that game, like we were kind of in that slump. It's like, oh, we really need this one. And they still lost that one and went on a run to go on and have a nice playoff run. And this maybe kind of feels a little similar to that, like where this is a good team and they sneak it out, but the Bills, there's some signs at the end where the Bills make it close and give us a little bit of sign that, hey, the passing game came along a little bit. We're close. We're still nursing some of these injuries. Not everybody's back yet. And then they go on a run. There's a run in this team, I feel like. I just don't know if it starts this week. I'm going to pick it, though. I'm going to pick it to start here this week.
We don't know if it starts this week or if this is the
catalyst
to start it the next week.
I think this is a good team, and it's been a weird circumstances of injuries and stuff like that. And I think they're going to go on a run at some point. And I hope it starts now. I can't handle much more.
All right. So as we switch over here, we want to thank our friends over at Southern Tier Brewing Company. Fantastic sponsors, great people to work with. We're going to get ready for who's here to help. And if you have any questions that you want to get into the chat for fantastic producer Colin Ritchie to come up and ask us at the end of the show, get him in the chat. Let us know what your questions are for this week. Aaron, there's an odd amount of people here to help.
Potentially, yeah.
So let's start with I'm going to say current, but there's actually some new current ones. Previous Bills. From an injury standpoint, we had 4 guys with a full participation designation today. AJ Epinesa, full participation means he has
cleared,
almost graduated from concussion protocol, or maybe it's a formality to officially do that, but that's a great indicator that he's going to play. Josh Palmer, some video clips. I think Matt Perino had one saying like, hey, this is the best he's moved in a long time. And he looked quick and looked comfortable in and out of his breaks. Jordan Phillips was also full, but TJ Sanders also full, which I don't know if that's me connecting dots. I probably need to ask Kyle Trimble, but even if he's a full participant in practice, I have to assume that means they're preparing to activate him off the IR. I don't think they would list him as full if they weren't going to activate him. So
Max wasn't full, and they did.
Yeah, and they did.
Everything's possible now.
Yeah. And then you add in Taron Johnson back in limited. Joey Bosa had the club off of his hand, had a brace going. Christian Benford back in limited. So we know we're going to miss Dalton Kincaid for a bit here. It'll be a win if we don't put Dalton Kincaid on IR. But it seems like there's a nice amount of guys coming back here, which is needed because we were getting really thin at a couple spots.
Yeah, it's super needed. And I think this is like that fine line point in the season that I don't feel for Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane of having to juggle this roster in its current state, or what it has been like here the past 6 weeks. Of, again, the Bills are in such a weird spot with some of these injuries, because obviously you don't want guys to go on IR like TJ Sanders, where his was probably one of those ones that was in between IR and not. And if you make that decision, then you're
kind of the moment when Ogunjobi and Hoyt were both coming back, and Deion was playing great, and Daquan was healthy in the moment, Ed was healthy in the moment.
Like, what's another week? Or whatever. And then,
this is actually probably 2 to 3 weeks, but let's just do 4 to be safe. And all of a sudden it's like, oh God, I wish we had the option to have him back.
I think some of those things happened early on. You're managing some of those injuries, managing guys coming back from injuries, playing through injuries. And so it's a really delicate balance, but now you're in a spot where you got to start rattling through some wins and get this team going in the right direction. So you do need some of these guys to kind of ramp up and play. And so like I think there's probably internally some pressure for TJ Sanders to get out there and play this week, just because you're down on bodies and getting an AJ Epinesa back and playing. And that's a fine line too, because you rush some of these guys back and then you're kind of compounding the issue again. So I think it's a tough spot to be in right now for the Bills heading into a game like this where you are getting some guys back. But if a guy like Gabe too, what interests me this week is you talk about Kincaid maybe being out for a while. Getting a guy like Gabe in the building would maybe allow you to still remember that year Gabe did some of that like tight end. I think it was because Kincaid was out, or maybe it was Knox at the time. But I think it was Kincaid was out, and he did some of that tight end stuff. Like he gives you that type of versatile piece that no other receiver option gives you, where it's not going to look like Kincaid, but it'll give you some type of explosive, because that's the only spot they're getting explosives from right now.
So I'll take it a step further. So obviously one of the next things after the existing guys, we've heard some whispers here. And obviously we know Eric has a relationship with Gabe and with his team. So when Eric said, like, posted some of the things of guess who's back this week, I'm gonna take that pretty
if it's not this week, it looks soon. Like the
it looks like
it's
any moment
coming back. Yeah.
Joe Biscaglia put out a story asking the DBs about how, what he's looked like. Joe's this isn't Joe's first rodeo either. Yeah. He put that story out because Gabe's playing. Yeah. So I'm expecting Gabe to be added to the elevated, maybe not added to the 53, maybe just use one of the elevations, and to be game day active and to play. And you're not wrong that they could use him in that Dalton Kincaid role. You want to know what I want to see? I want to see Josh Palmer on the outside. I want to see Gabe Davis on the inside. And I want to find out what Keon Coleman has in the slot. Like everybody talked about that. That's what so many guys were surprised we were using him on the outside, because, well, there's limitations, but if he's going to have a role in the NFL, it's going to be on the inside. We're not, taking away from Khalil Shakir or not, he's not taking that job, but I want to find out. I need to know, like, hey, can that work? Are there functionalities there? We can still move Khalil around. I think he can still have a primary role, but I'd like to take a third of those snaps, and I want to find out, can Keon Coleman be the slot guy, that the big power slot that people in the draft community and the Matt Harmons of the world saw as his path to be able to play? Because I think we need to know before we get close to deciding, like, oh, he's just not going to be what we needed him to be.
I don't like it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he's got it, the type of route running to be super productive. So I think he'd be a guy where you have to like set some rubs and picks to get him to be a thing. And I'm just over trying to force him to be a thing. I think he is what he is. I really do. I think he can catch those balls that he caught for the big explosive touchdown. Sometimes I think Josh has to give him better looks at some of them, but I think that's where he's had success in the NFL is that Seattle game, right? On Tyreek Woolen, like going up on a guy. Josh has to be willing to make those throws. He has to give Josh a reason to make those throws. Outside of that, like he might catch a slant on the outside. There's not a lot to the game. I don't love it to say it, but I think, sure, give him some reps in the slot. I'm cool with Gabe lining up wherever. I want more Khalil Shakir. We just saw for the first week Khalil Shakir overtake Keon Coleman for snaps in a game. That shouldn't be a thing to me. Like Khalil Shakir should be your leading wide receiver on this roster without a Josh Palmer, right? No.
Yeah. I think it's. I've just
we're grasping at straws to make it a.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. I want to find out. I want to know. And if that's enough smart people who know the receiver position well, had that as his possible path, I'd like to see some sample size of some kind before we get to the point of Khalil, Khair Elam territory, or like, hey, this guy's just not going to be what we drafted him to be. And maybe he's still a roster caliber player, but he was not drafted to be a wide receiver 4. And right now it's looking like, oh, this is a wide receiver 4 kind of guy. And that it's just like, yeah, he could play here and there. Before we get to that point and we're like, yeah, he's just not going to be what we wanted, I'd at least like to see some sample size of where many people projected he would need to play to be successful in the NFL.
I get it. You're not the first person I've talked to about this, and smart people that I've talked to about that. And I just don't. I think the time for the trial stuff, like you see Kansas City do it a lot and try stuff early. I think we might start to get close to past the trial stuff. Like if we had a lead on the division or we're like in the driver's seat, you could still get Q. I'm just nervous about. I want to start getting productive, and maybe maybe that does. Maybe those people are all right, and it unlocks some ability. Sure. He's good with the ball. If you can even get him in the screen game, and he's good with the ball in his hands, and get some level of explosive, productive play out of him. Sure, I'm all for whatever drives that. I see a trend of guys coming in and then bringing guys in, and it makes me feel like his role's just going to shrink as the season goes. The boat's going to keep going, whether or not he's ready or not.
100%. And in fairness, Patton's talking about it in the chat here. Shakir was limited in practice today with both ankle and rib injuries. So
I'm trying not to think about it. Thanks, Patton.
It's not great. Yeah, way to go. So now let's talk about the two new pieces. What we need to find out is I've obviously had some guys that I've wanted to go after, and it's been cool when we've signed them or added them. Obviously, I'm still claiming victory for Poona Ford because he was good. We were just dumb and couldn't figure out how to use him. He goes on to the next two teams and is awesome in both the teams, and just we couldn't figure out how to use him. But then on the other side of that spectrum, you have like the Deion Joneses of the world. We're like, well, yeah, I wanted him, but I wanted him like 5 years ago, like not now. Two guys that I have write-ups on, the guys that I did free agent work on, guys that I wanted at different points, were both Mecole Hardman and Morgan Fox. And I don't know if either of them have left what they had when I wanted them. But I'm at least intrigued in the idea of, mid-season, you're normally talking about the Fedarian Mathises and Andre Joneses of the world. And if there's any chance, who do you want to start with? You want to start with Morgan Fox or you want to start with Mecole Hardman?
You pick. They're your guys.
So Morgan Fox 3-4 years ago was Michael Hoyt. Like he was the weird guy where is he an edge? Is he a defensive tackle? Why are they playing that defensive tackle, a stand-up outside linebacker? And he was very versatile and movable. He was a weird piece with the Rams. He was with the Chargers, had a season with like 45 pressures and 7 sacks, and was just like a nice, versatile, movable piece that was a good depth, nice to have as your 6th best defensive lineman. It could rotate in, play multiple different spots in different pieces. Even last season with the Chargers, still looked pretty good. But I know like he was battling some kind of injury and signed a decent sized contract where he did not have it in camp with the Falcons and looked either not healthy or just washed, and that they ate the money. They did like what we did with Lyle Collins or OJ Howard, where he was a signing and it was just cheaper to eat the dead cap and not pay him the money in season. So he signed a deal in Atlanta, but then never played for them and got cut. And I don't know how much of that is he just doesn't have it anymore and he's gone, or he wasn't healthy at that time and needed more time to get back to whatever he's going to be. But he did not look good in the camp or in the preseason in Atlanta. So, I have low expectations, but I think there's a glimmer of hope that maybe he wasn't all the way back and healthy. And then it was more value or cap of like, well, we have another guy who's cheap, who's about as good as you are. We'll just keep that guy and not pay you. I think it was going to be like $4 million, and they would have to eat 1.5, and they saved $2.5 million by cutting him. But they had signed him to a $4 million deal and ended up, they're like, screw it. We'll just eat the $1.5 million and go with the cheap guy. So I don't have high expectations, but I guess there's at least some chance that he could be an older, poor man's version. Right now, he is 3 years older than Michael Hoyt, so he's not going to fill in for what Hoyt was doing, but he used to do some of that stuff.
I think that this is a guy that's probably just a smart low end roster move right now for Bean, where you have a Landon Jackson having a substantial injury. You're getting thin at that spot. You had Joey Bosa. It's nice to see Bosa's getting out of that club and into a cast. I almost wonder with the Bosa thing if that's more him being like, dude, I can't play with this club. You heard McDermott talk about how hard it is. So like, I hope he's progressing with the injury, but it seemed like maybe it was more frustration from Bosa of having to play with it. And looking
also,
for some,
Fox played for 3 years with Bosa.
In
LA.
I think he's you've got a veteran that you're bringing into the room who probably would love a chance at a ring, even if it's a practice squad role. I think that provides you another guy that you can elevate here as you're going. They've already used some elevations here along the defensive line in the practice squad. So it's a smart move at this point in the year. I'm not expecting him to play. Hopefully guys stay healthy and there's no spot for him in the rotation. I think Solomon looked pretty good in some of that Hoyt role. Obviously it's not the same as Hoyt, but I think he is athletic enough to be out there and do some stuff. I don't know. I hope that they don't have to pull either one of these guys when we flip over to Hardman either. I think these are the kind of guys you want to roll into the playoffs with of, hey, we've got some vets here where break in case of emergency. We know these guys have played productive games in the NFL. We don't want to have to rely on them.
Yeah, and I know some of it depends because he was used in different ways. The Chargers had him as like almost like a 3-4 big defensive end. But he was down at like 275. He was saying he's like up 25 pounds, that he's so I don't know.
More on the interior.
I was assuming he was going to be more 3-tech-ish, like pass rush, interior pass rush, defensive tackle. Because once you get past, that's not Fedarian Mathis, that's not Daquan Jones. Jordan Phillips has moments, but just 8 to 10 pass rush snaps inside, but could move around and do the stunts in games. If he's still needing to be anything on the edge, then I get real worried about.
So that's where I feel like they need help. If they're getting TJ Sanders back, like I don't need too much in the 3-tech. Jordan Phillips has been better than I expected.
I'm just curious to see what he is. I'm curious to see what he is. He's a guy that at that time when he was coming off, especially off of that Rams season, he was a guy that I wanted in 2021. He did a stopover in Carolina and then he went to the Chargers and was good. Like his first season, the Chargers, he was really, really good.
Yeah.
But that was the year that he played, like where I was joking about like the Hoyt thing. Like that season, he played like 7 different alignments. Like they used him everywhere, and he played like stand up outside end and literally like 0-tech straight up over the center, and everything in between. And I like that idea. He's not that guy anymore. That was literally, if you go back, that's what like Hoyt was now. Like he was that kind of guy where Hoyt was also lined up over the slot, and then also was a 310-pound defensive tackle, and then also was a lost weight and played defensive end. It was all the things in between. He's not that guy anymore, but I'm wondering, does he have a role somewhere that he could be something?
Yeah.
Speaking of
asking about,
a role, Mecole Hardman was also signed. So Mecole Hardman technically was signed yesterday, and Morgan Fox today. Most people know him from his time with the Chiefs. And, he had some glimmers and moments. Obviously, I think he caught a game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. So he's had some pretty big moments at times here or there. He's been kind of a gadgety receiver, never a primary major guy. His top season in Carolina, he had 83 targets, 59 catches for 693. But he's also had some moments as a really good returner. And has had some good moments there, both as a punt returner and a kick returner. Actually had all-pro votes as a returner. So, that's something that we tried with Codrington, and then, have tried to do now with a little with Curtis Samuel and Ty Johnson as a returner, Ray Davis as a kick returner, Khalil Shakir as a safety net punt returner. I wonder, do you consolidate one of Samuel or Elijah Moore's roster spots, not have to worry about one of those guys back there? He could do some of the gadgety stuff. If you needed, you also could use Shakir for more of that stuff too, to just if I'm manufacturing touches, I'd rather manufacture a Khalil Shakir touch than a Curtis Samuel touch. And maybe Hardman could actually be both a kick return and punt return.
There's definitely, that's the path, I think.
I don't see any spot where he becomes a receiver and becomes like an actual piece to the receiving game, but we have not had any impact in a return game. And that's the only thing I could see is, are they trying to throw a dart at, can he be a returner for us?
Sure. I think that's the path for him for sure. I was meant to look into the return game a little bit this week, and I just haven't had time, because I was talking, as I saw a post Sal made, and I was like, man, it isn't great. The return game is not great, but it does also feel like every time they have a decent return, you see a flag for like half the distance to the goal. And because he was talking about starting field position.
We're second to the worst in the NFL, 31st in the NFL in starting field position, which is a, let's say, below average return game. We're probably not the 31st return team in the NFL. Maybe we're 24th return or whatever. And we seem to shoot ourselves in the foot constantly and have
a lot of it.
Dumb penalties all the time.
There's a lot of it. And it's on like all the special teams, not just on the return stuff, but it does show up there a lot. Anyways, I think that is the path for him to make a spot. I don't know how quickly the Bills get into that. He hasn't played in a while. He just started returning punts here. I think it's probably going to take him a little bit to get to game shape. He's not one of these guys that have been in the Bills building where they've had their hands on him. They know where he's at. I don't know that we've seen some kind of questions here. I don't know if those are for later here, but about whether or not he will play in here to help this week. I think it's going to take a little time for him to ramp up. But I do think the Bills want to get that addressed here before the playoffs and the postseason to make that actually a weapon and not just a default play.
Yeah, I want to have an answer. So either if you're going to put Khalil Shakir back there, tell him he's allowed to return the ball, and that instead of fairly conservative fair catches or running out of bounds, like I'd like to at least Codrington, again, Khalil Shakir is fully capable. This is not a judgment on Khalil Shakir. They're very clearly telling him to not risk himself and not to get injured because he's capable of doing more than what we're seeing. But then put somebody back there who's allowed to return it. Like at least Codrington would like be aggressive and give us the Andre Roberts stuff where like he would prepare himself and trigger himself downfield. I want something just to be able to give it a shot. So if this is a chance to get that, I'm all for it. And I don't particularly care. Like, does it matter if we have both Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel active? Like, does that actually matter?
I'm still holding out hope. I'm waiting for one of them to be a thing. Sure. And like, I just want
one of them figure that out. The other one go sit down and let Mecole Hardman be the returner. So whichever one you're going to combine your powers, give me like Curtis Moore or, we'll try it that way. Just combine the two and see if that can, do Elijah Samuel and that guy plays, and then let Mecole Hardman be the returner.
We'll see. We'll see what they do. It seems like there's some plan for him.
I don't expect either guy this week. No matter what, I don't expect Morgan Fox or Mecole Hardman, either guy, to be involved this week. I do think we get TJ Sanders back as the fourth defensive tackle. I do think that we get both Josh Palmer and Gabe Davis back as as receivers this week. So we might get a game day inactive for Samuel or Moore anyways, depending on what other positions they need to pull from. One of them might sit as it is. If Gabe's elevated and Moore is active, or do you think they're ready to game day inactive Coleman?
I like this one while we're at it. Add Keon Shavers. If we can just make those two one roster.
Sure.
Position.
Yeah. Have Keon start playing gunner and, all the special teams units.
I don't know what's going on with Keon. The way I will say, I don't read too into press conferences. I think it's mostly hot air. But I think it was Perino asked about and re-asked about like some of the stuff, like the what has been addressed and the lack of work ethic, or like the perception that he's taking routes off and stuff. And McDermott just kind of being like, hey, we've addressed things when they need to be addressed. It was an interesting answer for anyone that didn't go back and look at it. So I don't think he's on the precipice of a game day inactive, but I do think there's some buyer's remorse internally.
How could there not be?
I mean, but not just like the production. It would be one thing if it was the production side of it, but I think that's the like, hey, we're still fining him into the second year or whatever, suspending him from.
We're having to sit him for quarters because he's missing meetings or like missing curfew
or whatever.
And I don't like, again, I'm not a huge body language guy or reading into effort or like trying to say. Matter of fact, it makes me crazy when people say like pro athletes aren't trying their hardest or things like that. Like if you watch all of Keon Coleman's routes a whole day and you tell me he's trying his hardest at all times, there are moments where it certainly does not look like 100% speed at all times.
I don't know. Yeah, McDermott's quote was interesting to me, but we should bring.
All right. Thanks to our friends over at William Mattar Law Offices. You guys know the slogan: hurt in a car, call William Mattar, 844-444-4444. That is who's here to help this week. We'll see. We know Gabe Davis will be here to help. We'll see what kind of difference he makes joining that receiver room. Him and Josh Palmer, hopefully back. That gives us a little bit of a spark here. All right, let's close things out. Bring up fantastic producer Colin Ritchie. Colin, I know first you guys live more local. We'll start with Padden here. It sounds like weather may be a factor. I think it may be lower scoring than we think. You guys know, are there risks of ugly weather?
I think it's for Saturday. We're supposed to get high percentages of like rain, snow, wintry mix. But I think Sunday's supposed to just be like chilly and damp, maybe. Okay. What are you saying?
We've definitely entered that part of the year now where it's just gross outside. We've had some snow on the ground. If it's not snow, it wasn't below 32 today, so it was just a lot of rain.
My sump pump was going hard today.
Yeah, it's definitely just been sludgy and cold, and even if there is no snow, the atmosphere still isn't going to be ideal for a football game.
Yes, actually, I think this is also a good opportunity where you're hitting a point in Buffalo. I argue about these things every single year with people like my friend Nate Geary, who's very overreactionary. No, actually, Nate is so grounded in reality at all times that he never overreacts. But like about as weather's coming out, like even here on a Wednesday, we don't know. Like there is an estimate. Buffalo weathers could change between
like
now
Florida
and
weather. Like if you don't like the weather, just wait.
Yeah. So, but the current, from what I've seen, I don't think Sunday itself should be an issue in Buffalo. Okay. But like to Colin's point, if for a team from Tampa, it could be cold, wet, feeling not great.
I'll take it. Take it. All right. Were there any other questions you had or from the chat that you think we should address here before we close out the show?
Yeah, so you guys did a great job of addressing everything. There was stuff about McCole Hardman, stuff about Keon Coleman. So you guys hit all of that. So I have a couple trivia questions for you guys, actually. Maybe this one's more common knowledge, but I was not aware of this. Do you guys know who Tampa Bay's current quarterback coach is? Because he used to play quarterback for the Buffalo Bills.
Thad Lewis?
Yes, it is Thad Lewis.
I did not know that. That's a great pull, Aaron. I
knew he was in coaching now. And
yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know Thad was coaching.
Yeah, so he was an offensive analyst for UCLA from 2018 to 2019, then an intern for the Bucs in 2020. He moved to assistant wide receivers coach, and now he's the quarterback coach.
Very cool. Good for him.
That's smart awesome. Guy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Very cool. So I know where's Davis Webb? Is Davis Webb is he Denver still?
I think so.
He's in Denver. Yeah, he's like interning coaching under Peyton, right? It's like.
No, they gave him like a legit role. I think offense, like passing game coordinator.
Gotcha.
I think is his title.
Yeah.
He was quarterbacks coach, and then this year offensive passing game coordinator and quarterback coach. Yeah. So he's kind of like Cromer is for us, where like an elevated O-line coach. Like he's a little bit more than just an O-line coach. He's a run game coordinator. I think that he's like a little bit more than a quarterback coach, but not quite the OC.
Coordinating a passing game for Bo Nix must be frustrating. Yeah. After working seeing Josh Allen.
He's my sneaky if we've obviously seen that progression from quarterback coach to OC, for now a good run for the last several guys here.
Bring him back for Josh. I'm going to quit.
So Ronald Curry, I think there's something there, but Davis Webb is a guy that I could see making sense to give a shot as an OC because of the familiarity, that it wouldn't be like out of the blue, it would be a guy that could come back that I know he was thought of in that way. And I think it's just a matter of time before he becomes an offensive coordinator. So it's just, I think that's would be a sneaky one that people wouldn't expect. I still, of course, want like the fired offensive head coach who isn't going to get another job when we get the stability, or we just hire the offensive head coach. But one of those.
I said it, I think last week. I think if this doesn't work, I think McDermott probably has to go and doesn't get a chance to hire another guy. But if he does get a chance to hire another guy, I don't think you take somebody that Josh wants anymore. Yeah. Like, get somebody that will tell. I think we're getting too buddy with the franchise quarterback and giving him all the stuff he wants. I think you might need somebody to yell at him sometimes.
I know what receiver he wanted in the draft over instead of Ladd McConkey. Would have been real cool if he wanted Ladd McConkey instead. Yeah, and I do think maybe things go real sideways in Cleveland. I'll take Kevin Stefanski.
Sure.
That's a name.
I heard rumblings of LaFleur. I would definitely we should drum up the Patriot or the Packers to fire.
If the Packers fans are dumb enough to want to run Matt LaFleur out of town, one, you're dumb, and two, like is there a realistic name you can think of? Because obviously McVay and Reed are not getting fired. So is there a realistic name you can think of you would put ahead of Matt LaFleur of, oh yeah, no, we got to fire McDermott? Is there a guy above him that would come available?
Steichen, maybe? He hasn't had like any six. I don't know. Maybe.
My gut, just because of the success, but like I don't know who's responsible for what. I would have LaFleur ahead of Steichen, but sure, like he'd be right there. I think I would take LaFleur slightly ahead, but maybe. I think I'd have LaFleur slightly ahead of
Kyle Shanahan.
Terry Pagula will give you one Jason Garrett.
God, I'm so just putting that into the universe is cruel. I probably put Shanahan closer to McVay and Reed of like, he ain't going nowhere. Like he's runs that organization. But sure, yes,
McDermott.
Yeah, McDermott's
not going anywhere.
That's why we need Stefanski to get fired to come be the OC to just take over that side of the ball.
Yeah, what do you mean if things go sideways in Cleveland?
Things have been sideways in Cleveland for a decade.
Things were sideways in 1999 when they came back, and they have never unsideways. Wait, I take that back. I watched Baker Mayfield beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs and end Ben Roethlisberger's career. Aaron knows, my dear friend Rich, like that's the one Browns moment. They ended Ben Roethlisberger's career.
We never got to do that to Brady.
Yeah, they ended Ben Roethlisberger's career and sent him off into retirement by beating him in the playoffs. Yeah. Baker Mayfield did that, and they still figured out a way to run him out of town.
That too.
Oh, they still. Oh God, it's such a disaster. So, so Bills fans, it's not. It could be worse. I promise, it could be worse. It could be worse. All right, Colin. Anything else for us?
Did you guys know that the Bills are 3-0 at home against Tampa Bay in the history of their franchise?
Of course, obviously. That's gonna be
fun. But what years are those? Some of those guys go.
So I have the years and I have the QB matchups too, because if we had more time, I was going to ask you for those.
Okay.
But in 2023, we had it was
2021, right?
2021. Yeah.
Brady versus Allen, the overtime.
But no, that was in Tampa.
That was in Tampa because we lost that game.
Right.
So I think the thing I saw I had the wrong year because that was a loss and that was away. But we had 2017, Tyrod Taylor beat Jameis Winston.
Okay.
And in 2009, Trent Edwards beat Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, that's right.
What a game.
I still remember that Byron Leftwich game at Marshall, whereas the bowl game where his offensive lineman had to carry him down the field because he had a high ankle sprain and couldn't walk, but he could stand there and throw. And in between each snap, like the lineman would have to pick him up and carry him down the field. It's one of the coolest college football performances ever.
Yeah. Oh, it was 2023 Allen versus Baker. So it was the same quarterback matchup we have today.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. Thanks for hanging in there with us. I know it's been a rough week for the Bills. It's a dark moment, but as Aaron has said, whenever it finally does happen, it's going to be one of those seasons when you least expect it. Well, we don't expect it at all right now. So
do it now, Bills. I dare you.
Oh, God. All right. On behalf of our fantastic producer, Colin Ritchie, my lovely co-host, Aaron Quinn, our fantastic sponsors, William Tarl Offices and Southern Tier Brewing Company, all you guys in the chat were fantastic. Give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review, help us out here. I am Greg Tompsett. You have been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.